As I stepped out of the car and walked toward the door, the sound of my small shoes tapping against the sidewalk echoed in my ears. I couldn't believe I was actually going through with this ridiculous bet, but I had no other option. I had wanted to propose to my girlfriend for months, but I didn't have enough money to buy her the ring she deserved. I had been saving for nearly 6 months, but I was still far from what I needed. It would take at least another year to save enough for the ring, but I didn't want to wait that long to ask her. One of my co-workers mentioned that some of his college friends were having a poker game. He played occasionally but wasn't joining that weekend. Long story short, I lost every penny I had saved for her engagement ring, and even ended up owing money to several of the guys at the game. They cut me off after that. I was devastated. The game had cost me almost a year's worth of savings. Now, it would take 2 years before I could even think of showing my lovely Dorleen that I wanted to spend my life with her. That's when 2 of my biggest creditors came up with a way for me to clear my debts. They offered to pay off everything and give me a chance to earn back my money, plus a little extra. If I did well, I might even make enough to buy the ring after all. "What do you want me to do?" I asked. "It's simple," they said. "Just a little dare." I was nervous but agreed, knowing I'd do anything to get the money back. And that's how I ended up in this absurd situation, dressed in a schoolgirl outfit. The blouse wasn't too bad, it was made of cotton and puffed out slightly with long sleeves and pearl-like buttons. The green and black plaid skirt matched the outfit, but the big bow at the neck and another one in my shoulder-length blonde wig didn't exactly match. My feet were in knee-high socks and small shoes with taps. The girls my creditors hired did a great job of hiding my features. No one would have guessed I was a guy, especially with the wig, fake eyelashes, blush, and coral pink lipstick. I took a deep breath and walked up to the door of the liquor store. It was a small, family-run shop. The only 2 people working there were a guy behind the counter who seemed to be in his early 20s, and a man a few years older, who was more muscular and kept an eye on the customers while helping others. There were also about 6 other people in the store, which would hopefully make me blend in a bit. My creditors had mentioned that one of their friends would be there to ensure I followed through with the dare. I could recognize him by the ring in his tongue. As I moved toward the back of the store, where the wine was shelved, I could feel the eyes of everyone on me. On a Saturday night, a customer walks in dressed like a schoolgirl. There was no way I could hope they didn't see through me. I could only pray I looked convincing enough, as the thought of being caught made my stomach churn. When I reached the wine racks, I bent down to look at the bottles on the bottom shelf, just as instructed. As I reached for one, I felt a bump against my back. I squeaked in surprise, almost forgetting to keep my voice light and airy. Turning around, I saw 3 young guys, none old enough to be drinking, grinning at me. One of them smiled and said, "Nice pants, sweetheart." My face turned bright red. I was tempted to make a snarky reply, asking if he liked them so much, maybe he should wear them himself, but I kept quiet. Instead, I smiled sweetly and said, "Thanks," in a high-pitched voice, before moving to the next wine rack to put some distance between us. I couldn't understand why they'd told me to grab a bottle from the bottom shelf. As I bent down again, I felt another bump, and this time I knew it was intentional. Anger and fear mixed inside me. I didn't dare say anything, speaking out could blow my cover. Plus, I was embarrassed by the unsettling feeling that his move had been some sort of flirtation, and I had unknowingly encouraged it. Thankfully, a store employee came over and asked the boys for IDs. They gave some lame excuses for not having one. I quickly moved down 2 racks and knelt again, picking up a bottle of wine. This time, I breathed a sigh of relief. That part of the task was finally done. Now, I just needed to grab the other 2 items. When I stood up, another customer approached me. "Are you okay, miss?" he asked. "I saw those guys bothering you." I did my best to maintain the light, airy voice I'd been practicing all day. "Yes, I'm fine, thank you," I replied. He seemed to look me over, probably wondering why a grown woman was wearing a schoolgirl uniform at 8 p.m. on a Saturday. I also sensed he was trying to flirt, pretending to be the concerned guy looking out for me. Before meeting my girlfriend, I used that act often, so I knew exactly how it worked. I tried to keep my voice as sweet as possible, not wanting to give myself away. Underneath the skirt, my knees were shaking uncontrollably. I feared he'd figure it out any second. Finally, I came up with an excuse. I should really get going, I said, hoping my true voice wouldn't slip out. My boyfriend's expecting me. We're going to a friend's costume party. I added the last part as an afterthought, realizing it didn't make much sense. Who has a costume party on a Saturday night, except around Halloween? I made my way to the back of the store, grabbing a 12-pack of Miller from the cooler. I told myself, 2 down, 1 to go, as I focused on my task, trying to avoid the attention of the strange men in the store. More customers came in than left. I grabbed a 26-ounce bottle of vodka and nearly ran to the front. I placed everything on the counter, keeping my eyes down, hoping the cashier wouldn't recognize me. After a while, the cashier still hadn't rung up my order, so I took a chance and looked up. He smiled at me, slightly opening his mouth to show me his tongue ring. When I saw that, my heart leapt into my throat. I silently pleaded with him not to embarrass me, but all he did was flash a nasty grin and say, "May I see your ID, miss?" I tried to keep calm, shaking slightly as I reached into the purse they'd given me and pulled out my ID. It wasn't a fake, it was my real ID, with my actual name and photo. My heart raced as he took it from me. He studied it for a moment before saying, "I'm afraid I can't serve you unless you provide an ID, miss." He then looked at me with surprise. My eyes started to water, and I silently begged him not to make this worse. But deep down, I knew this was part of the dare they had set up for me. "This ID is yours, but you're a guy," he shouted loudly, more than necessary. Everyone in the store heard him. He played his part well, acting shocked, before letting out a laugh. Others joined in, and before long, everyone was staring at me. I must have looked like a deer caught in headlights, terrified, frozen, unable to move. Finally, I found the strength to get my legs working and walked out of the store. I threw the money at him and ran to my car, mascara running down my face as tears streamed down my cheeks. To my relief, my car was still there. But then I remembered I'd left the alcohol on the counter. I had paid for it, but I couldn't go back. I couldn't face any of them again. One of my creditors looked at me and asked, "Did you get the stuff?" This was the question I had feared the most. What could I possibly say? Don't forget to join me on Patreon for exclusive content,